think we shot like 3,000 rounds in a mission one day. Just really fun stuff. Got to be in some pictures. If you Google search Nowzat Afghanistan 2008, there's pictures of me dropping mortars. It was, news press was there. It was a wild deployment. So I got to be a team leader. So I got to work my own gun. So I got promoted to a squad leader during that first deployment, and spent November 2008 until June 2009 there, and came home a very, very, very salty Lance Corporal, budding on a promotion to corporal, combat action ribbon. Had the stamp of Nowzat on me, so everyone else in the unit knew those Nowzat dudes went through it. So all the mortarmen, all the infantry guys there, those guys were the intense ones, and came back sort of like a folk hero because of the Nowzat deployment. So a lot of the Nowzat guys got a lot of clout for all the mortars we shot and all the combat situations we found ourselves in over there. So yeah, long deployment, man.
Yeah, it sure is, man. That's intense. So how much downtime did they give you when you came back?
It had to have been standard. I remember maybe 20 days, maybe a month.
Yeah.
I remember coming home and my wife was there, and my best friend that I had joined with, he had been attached to a different unit. He was with 2-6, 2nd Battalion, 6th Marines. They had one on a MEU. He had just gotten back from a MEU. And so they were there for me when I met back, and we all shared an apartment in town. I remember being home for a while, and definitely knew that I was not the same after that. I came back and I was like, okay, I've seen life and death now. I need to prioritize what's important to me, and I need to let go of what's not. So I was like, Jessica, let's have a kid. So me and my wife, we got pregnant with our first kid, and I said, hey, I'm going to be here for every single appointment that I can be. So I was home. I was home the entire pregnancy, but the initial downtime in the beginning, a month maybe. It feels like I can't exactly pinpoint a day on it, but never feels like enough. You deploy for a long time and you come home and you kind of just want to never do anything again.
Sure.
You feel accomplished, and you feel like you've done something, but then you realize like, oh, I still have time left. I still have more things to get done. All my guys that I had trained with were getting out of the Marine Corps and moving on to different jobs, and now this whole crop of brand new Marines are coming in. Now they're looking at me, now a corporal, and saying, all right, train us. We hear you're the Nowzat guy. Show us what you know. So me and all those guys, just in boot camp together in SOI, are now looking at our own boots, and it's just the cycle. It just is so quick. And like, okay. So we got to be salty Lance Corporals and do the same song and dance. I got to show up to SOI and wait for those Marines to graduate and say, get on the bus and ride back with them. And then when they got there, all my buddies were sitting there with beer bottles ready to scare them. And so I got to do all those things too. But yeah, cycle of life, man.
Yeah, it's a rite of passage.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Okay. So you said you were home for the whole pregnancy. That's great. And I'm sure
Very
you
lucky.
had to, yeah, I'm
Very
sure,
lucky with
because
that,
usually
yeah.
you get pulled off to train for an extended period of time, even when you are back stateside. So, okay. So that was your first deployment. How many total deployments did you do while you
I
were
ended
in
up
there?
doing two.
Two.
And I got a little lucky on the staying home. So I got home, we found out we were pregnant and everything was great. And then they said, okay, we're deploying and we're going on a MEU. We're going to be on the 2-6 MEU, I believe. So we're going on the 26th MEU, USS Kearsarge. So I think we did some training where we went to, I think, Virginia, and we sailed down the coast of Florida to get used to being on a ship. Didn't have to do that because I was in training. I think I was in corporal's course at the time, which kept me at base. So I missed that training. And then we had to do the trap team training because I was a mortarman, where they drop us in the helo dunker and make everyone think they're going to drown us, and we're all terrified and have to act tough. I missed that training because, I don't know if you guys can see this, I am missing my middle fingertip. I And I know this is not a visual medium I'm using here, but I lost my middle fingertip. I was on duty, and I want every Marine, whoever listens to this, feel with me here because I had duty. Every Marine knows that what those four letters mean, and because I was married, they let me do it on a Friday, which means I got to waste my weekend at the barracks. So, for those who don't know what duty is, the barracks can be a very uh, it can be a very tumultuous place. We'll just put it that way. It's a bunch of young men feel like they're invincible. Sometimes they drink, sometimes they fight. So they establish a corporal to wear his Bravos or his Charlies in his uniform and get all spiffy, and I get to just babysit the barracks for an entire 24 hours. So I get to walk around with a book and make sure no one's breaking any rules or anything like that. So I was on duty that day, and I was hanging out with some of my buddies outside of the barracks, and there was a particular barracks room that all the married Marines, when they showed up for work, would hang out in. And I was already there because I was on duty, and I was getting around time to get out for formation. So I started banging on doors, getting guys out. Went to the married guys' room, banged on it, opened it up, see all my guys there. We're all senior Marines. We've been through it together. I'm like, guys, come on, get out for formation. They're all giving me a hard time, making fun of me because I'm the guy. Yeah, whatever. I turn around to leave the door. One of my Marine buddies says, "Yeah, get out." And he goes to slam the barracks door. And these are some very, very intense barracks doors. These aren't your basic doors you have on your house. And I turned around to go close the door. Got my finger caught perfectly in the door. You ever slam your finger? First thing you do is pull your hand out. Pulled it out. Finger stayed.
Oh,
Yeah. So I got to have some surgery and spend a lot of time at home. My wife was pregnant, so I got to spend. So I kind of lucked out there. To where I got to keep my promise to my wife and say I wouldn't miss an appointment. I didn't miss an appointment. I was there for the birth. My firstborn, his name's Jackson. He's 10 now, and I got to see him there for a little bit, and then we started getting word about going to the MU, and so we started training for that. And a few months had passed. Jackson's now 5 or 6 months, and Pakistan flooded in 2010. I don't know if you guys remember this. Pakistan had the big flood, and they decided to do relief work. So I showed up to work one day, and they said, "Hey, we're going to Pakistan tomorrow. Like 24 to 48 hours. Get ready. We're going to Pakistan to do relief work. We can get on a ship and go there." So I was like, "Okay, I need at least a day to get my wife back to Nashville to be around family. My wife's with a newborn." And so they granted me that. So I break my apartment lease, and I'm doing everything. And my wife she says, "Hey, I know this is the worst time, but I think I may be pregnant." And I was like, "Well, that was fast because we just had a baby, but let's go get this confirmed." So we go to the hospital, and we're expecting to see a little tiny bean, and we get the full profile. Doctor was like, "You guys got pregnant the second you could." So
wow.
so I had to send my pregnant wife with my 6-month-old son back to Nashville in a U-Haul that she drove back by herself. Which is a 10-hour drive from North Carolina to Nashville through the mountains. And then I got on a ship headed to Pakistan. I had no idea when I was going to come back. Of course, halfway through that deployment, halfway through that traveling over to Pakistan, they ended up taking the Marines off and putting us back in Afghanistan. So I ended up doing a second deployment in Afghanistan. I was on the ship for 4 months, and let me tell you, God bless whoever does those deployments because 4 months was brutal on that ship. I think I lost my mind more on the ship than I ever did in Afghanistan. The ship is insane. It's not made for tall people. I'm 6'3". It's not made for tall people. It's not made for anybody really. I don't think it is. But was on this USS Kearsarge, ended up being put back in Afghanistan for a second deployment, and that was my second and last deployment was in Afghanistan. Daughter was born during that deployment, so I didn't get to see my daughter Savannah, who is 9. Didn't get to see her birth, but and I missed my son's first birthday during that deployment. So did that second deployment in Afghanistan and came home at that point really ready to to get out of the Marine Corps. I hadn't really got to be a husband or a dad yet, and I had 2 kids and 2 combat deployments. And the only thing I have on me is a hurt finger that I did at the barracks goofing off was fortunate. So I took that good fortune and I said I'm going to go out and go be a civilian and go be a husband and a dad.
Yeah,
So,
well, you certainly did your bit for king and country.
yeah.
When you say it's really difficult on a ship, I always felt for Marines, and at least, and I didn't spend a lot of time out to sea, but I was on a lot of frigates early on in my career doing ComSec missions, and I was going to work. I had stuff to do, and things to get done, and so so you did your shift, you did your work, but for the Marines, it's like, yeah, PT, maybe you get to shoot over the side. There just wasn't a ton for those folks to do. That was the thing. It's a lot of time to sit and think.
Yeah, I truly felt for the Navy because we were just in the way. We were just like, I remember going down to chow line and getting in line and seeing Navy dudes like I need to skip you because like this is the only time I get to eat. Like you can do it whenever you want because you're not doing anything here. Unless we were training trap missions, I did nothing. I laid in my little tiny rack and watched the little DVDs and went to do PT and tried to use the payphone to call my wife to see how the pregnancy was going. And
especially a mortarman on a ship. I mean, what does a mortarman do?
We do not. Well, they make the mortar. I don't know if every unit does this, but our mortar team was a trap team. Which I believe we just always called it trap, but I believe it's called tactical reconnaissance of air personnel. The way it was presented to me when I heard about this was there was an old war movie with Owen Wilson called Behind Enemy Lines. And he was a pilot. I think he gets shot down. And at the end of the movie, there's that unit that shows up to go save him. That was a trap team. So those are the guys that are when a pilot goes down, they're trained to go out there. So we would do training missions. We would be off the coast of Africa, and we would get in a 22 Osprey, and we'd fly off the ship and land and go find some dummy in a black box and bring it back. So we did. That was fun when we did that. Thank God I never had to really do that. That's insane. But
yeah, and were you carrying a 60 at that time?
No, we had our 81 stored on the ship. We didn't take them during the trap missions. I don't even know if a 60 was brought. And that's one of the reasons why I think the trap team, we felt cool because it was about as close to like special forces as we could probably feel. We were doing missions without our mortars. We got our rifles all loaded up, got all this cool stuff on us that we don't usually get to carry. So yeah, most of my pictures were me doing trap team. It wasn't me standing around
you
got to
get your cool guy shots, right?
Yeah, you got to get your cool guy shots, So most of my pictures aren't of me standing around my mortar. It's me standing on like the flight deck with all my guys getting ready for a trap mission to go do nothing, So
Kev, how did your wife do during all this? Because I mean, with the back-to-back pregnancies, back-to-back deployments for you, how did she cope with everything while you were gone?
My wife is, and she's walking through the house as I say it is. So this is partially just so I can. This isn't to get points with her. She is the strongest human being I know. The things I accomplished in the Marine Corps pale in comparison to what she had to go through. I mean, she fell in love with her high school sweetheart, who, in all accounts, was having a successful and fun relationship. Then that boyfriend says, "Hey, I'm going to go join a war. Will you stay with me?" I leave her for 3 months. She drives to South Carolina to see me graduate. I leave her again for 2 more months. She flies to Onslow County, North Carolina, never been on a plane in her life, flies down to get married to that guy. Then she has to fly back because I got to go to work the next day. We don't have a honeymoon. We don't have a wedding. We get married in the courthouse. Her dream wedding never happened because she married a Marine. And that Marine is, we get an apartment off base. She comes down and lives with me, but that Marine is coming home every single day complaining about his senior Marines hazing him. I'm coming home covered in mud from doing training, and she's washing it. She's washing my canvas. She's completely buying into this military spouse life. and then I deploy to one of the most dangerous places in the world, and she comes back to Nashville,